Welcome to another episode of GU-Q Speaks, your go-to platform for insightful conversations, captivating stories, and thought-provoking discussions. GU-Q is a series of experiences, and we're just making sense of that as we go along. That is what we're doing here, one conversation at a time. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into our episode.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Sama Alissa. I'm a sophomore and I'm here today as a staff writer and associate editor at the Georgetown Gazette, and I am joined by Jannah.
Hi everyone, I'm Jannah. So I'm the managing editor for the Georgetown Gazette for this academic year, 2024-2025.
So, Jannah, personally, as not just as a writer within the Gazette, but also as a student, I look forward to your write-ups like a lot. I love reading your write-ups. You have no idea. Like when you released your interview with the Gazan evacuees, I was literally on the tram on my way home from uni, and it's a long one. So I had my phone out and I started reading it when I was in uni, and I finished it when I got to my room, and I was hooked for every second, literally every second. It was such a beautiful write-up. And then with all your other you write a lot. And what you write is honestly amazing. Tell me about, like, where do you get that motivation? Where do you get that spark to write?
I need to work on a portfolio to apply for journalism internships. That's number one. That is my number one motivation. But other than that, it's just, like for the Gazan evacuees, I had no idea I would write something like that based on interviews with evacuees. But you just see a chance and you take advantage of it because this is what I genuinely like to do. And I keep telling my friends, like these interviews were, I think, 3 hours, one hour and a half each. And I'm a person who zones out a lot during classes, but for 1 hour and a half, I would just sit and listen with all my senses. I didn't take notes, but I took mental notes of everything. And I was just so hooked for every single minute of it. And I was like, although a lot of it was very traumatizing, it was painful and everything. But for me, I was like, I enjoyed it. And not enjoyed it, like enjoyed listening to other people's painful stories, but enjoyed the fact that I'm listening to something with the intention of documenting it. And not because, they need my words to describe it, but because like we always watch and we witness stuff and we don't know how to react to it. And we feel like we want to do something. We want to advocate for what we believe in. And I just felt like if this is the only thing I can offer for them, so I would do it, and I would, try to do it right at least. And I think this is the thing with my writings. They're not always objective. And I use a lot of like maybe radical language and descriptions, but I feel like someone has to do it. And if no one is going to do it, okay, I will do it wherever.
Ooh, I love that. Can you take us through your writing process? Because you write about, as you described, radical things and things that no one else wants to write about. How do you pick those things? Because there's a lot of things that people are not willing to write or talk about.
Yeah.
How do you go, like, you look at all these, what makes you pick the exact, like, niche topic? Because for me personally, like the piece about like drawing parallels with Men in the Sun, Ghassan Kanafani's classic, I was genuinely, when I remember Alex was just telling me like what write-ups the Gazette is posting, because I was editing something at the time and I was just asking her like when it's going out. And when she told me about your piece, I was like, I cannot wait for that to be out. And I saw it and I was like, where did she even get the idea? I'm so curious to know, like, how do your ideas originate? Like, how do you go back? Like, take me to the ground zero of Jannah's writing space, Jannah's writing head.
That's a tough one because, like, every article had its own story. So for the piece about Ghassan Kanafani, I read this novel. I remember like maybe 5 years ago, and I remember after I read it, I did not understand the words, especially about the ending. I was like, "What do you mean?"
The ending is a bit confusing for a
Yeah.
first time reader, yeah.
And I was like, I just Googled it. I was like, what does the end of Ghassan Kanafani's Men of the Sun mean? And then I read a lot of interpretations, and most of them was like about despair. And then, okay, I'm revealing secrets here, but
Ooh.
no, it's not a big secret. I mean, it might be very like funny for people. I was preparing for my internship interview with Qatar Reads, and they have Men in the Sun as their book of the year or something. And I was just reading through their website preparing for an interview, and then I read that they have Men in the Sun. That is very interesting. I love this book, and I remember reading it. And then I was just thinking about it and why would they have it now this year specifically, and why not other books? Especially that that like the Palestinian literature is really rich with a lot of things that could have replaced this book. But then just I was thinking about it, just manifesting, and then I was like, I still remember the ending. Like I still remember it from like 5 years ago, and I was just thinking of it, and then I was like, what if they had knocked in the walls? And just the question came, and then I was like, you know what? I want to write about that. And then I was going to write it in Arabic because I thought about the whole process in Arabic, and I read the novel first time in Arabic, and I read the interpretations in Arabic. Everything was in Arabic. Then I was going to write it in Arabic, but then I was talking to my friends, and then they were like, no, we would actually like to read it, so please write it in English. And then I just shifted everything to English. That's the story. The last one about Syria, I just literally woke up the day Bashar fled the country, and I read the news, and it's like I was so happy. And then I was like, do you remember 2021 when you made that prayer that you want to witness that day? And then I was like, you know what, this deserves a Gazette article also, because like we wanna be active, and we want to engage with stuff that is happening right now. So we were like, we want to issue a statement, and then I was like, and I'm gonna also publish that article. I'm gonna try hard to post it today before something bad happens, and ruins everything. With the evacuees, I would say we did the interviews in October and we posted the piece in November. It took me so long to write it. It took me so long to try to actually absorb what I listened to, and I listened to the recordings one more time, and I took notes, and I tried to translate the quotes that I really liked because I wanted their voice to be included in the article. So it took me so long to write it. And I would say this is not a tip for anyone who wanna write, but I just wait for inspiration. For this piece, I was literally waiting. Like I got kicked out of my hotel in New York because I had to check out, and I was waiting for my flight. And then I had two options: either to sit at a coffee shop or to go to like one of New York's museums. And then I was like, you know what? I feel like I want to write about the article now. And then I just sat and I wrote like 1,000 words.
Oh my.
Even more, I think, because it is like 3,000.
Oof.
And originally, I just had the introduction. So before that day, before the coffee shop day, I didn't write that much, actually.
Oh, wow.
And then I also tried to include the circumstances of writing the article, like adding my personal perspective in the conclusion, and adding that, I'm just sitting here in a coffee shop drinking my nice drink and just thinking about how people might judge me for saying radical stuff. So it's just, for me, I just try to include everything, to include the environment in which I'm writing this article, and try to just wait for inspiration. And whenever it comes, I don't sit on it and like, oh, okay, I have the idea in my brain, but I'll do it later.
Yeah. I have kind of two things to piggyback with that. I'll start with this. So you're a very quick writer, and I know in a good way. Okay, I know this might sound, just let my brain run through this.
Yeah, fix it.
Exactly, I will. I remember when the American ambassador did a class visit here, and I stood out in the hallway of 1A04 with you, and you looked at me and you were like, I'm writing a Gazette article. Would you be okay proofreading it later and editing it? And I was like, of course. The speed at which you did it was unbelievable to me. Because again, like I write for the Gazette and I love writing. And I've written 2 pieces this semester. One of them is still...
Guys, she's an amazing writer.
Oh, thank you. One of them is to be released soon. It is an interview with Dean Ken. And the other one was reflections about me as a Palestinian in the diaspora. that piece was very personal to me, and it took me forever. You know, I started writing it on October 7th. It wasn't published till October 20 something. And so to me, it's like these types of kind of personal but also like reflective writing take a while.
Yeah.
And they are very hard to write. But with you, with Syria, with the piece about Syria, with the piece about the visit of Ambassador Davies, they went out by midday. And I personally was very impressed. Take me through that process. What is it like when, like, to me, it's kind of like you have a mandate. You want to get something out. What's it like for you?
So I would say when it comes to personal like articles, yeah, as you said, it's very difficult. By the way, after I read your article about being a Palestinian in diaspora, I wanted to write something on being Egyptian. And I started writing it, but then it was never done.
Oh.
So yeah, because personal stuff are very hard. You don't know
Yeah.
what to include and how to
Yeah.
phrase it. Sometimes you don't even know how you actually feel about something. But then with the ambassador's visit, it's basically because I came with the intention of writing something, and it wasn't something that is very sophisticated. Like when I read it after it was published, I was like, ew. But it's because I wrote it with the intention of that this is news
Informing
covering.
on
Yeah,
campus-
I'm just
campus
covering
news, yeah.
something. So it needs to be done quickly because I'm trying to foster a journalistic mindset in mind. No, I'm just writing this because I'm reporting on campus news, so it needs to be published. I don't care if it's very polished or not. It's not academic. I'm not getting a grade on this, so I'm just trying to summarize what happened and what the protesters said, what the ambassadors said. So it was very quick because it was tied to these circumstances. The Syrian piece was also something similar because it was, it was
The
just
day
I
of the
want,
fall of
because
the
I was
regime,
like,
yeah.
maybe if I wait one more day, something bad is gonna happen, and then it wouldn't be valid anymore. So I was like, yeah, I have this very pessimistic post Arab Spring generation soul, so I was like, I just need to get this as fast
Fair,
as possible. But generally, with other stuff, it does take me time.
I see. Going back to, so you said you wanted to write the Ghassan Kanafani piece in Arabic. I took an Arabic class with you, and it was it's so fun to be in an Arabic class with you. I really hope we can take another class.
I'm minoring in Arabic, so
Let me know which classes you're taking, so I'm also in them. But would you write in Arabic for the Gazette?
yeah, I actually want to.
About what? Do you know about what?
Um,
Would you, okay, let me rephrase that. Would you stick to more like general themes that are associated with writing in Arabic and Arabic literature, Arabic news, like all that? Or would you kind of stray away to your more kind of, as you described, like radical ideas and concepts?
it's just that I know radical words in English. I don't know them in Arabic. So that's the difficult part. But no, I would actually love to write in Arabic.
Okay, that's really nice. Okay. There was a question that I was just thinking of. Okay, this one. Impact on readers. Because to me personally, so after I wrote my piece about being a Palestinian in the diaspora, for me, I never put it out with the intention of like, oh, I want people to pity me or feel bad. That was never my intention. My intention was just, this is my personal story and I want to share it with people. And the response I got from, friends here, even some professors, my friends and family back home, was that a lot of people resonated and connected with it.
Yeah.
And I managed to do that so easily because it was a very personal piece and about a niche group of people that I know, and I know a lot of people from that demographic. So obviously they'd read it. With your articles, it doesn't kind of hit home like that. Like I would say the only one that would is maybe the Syria one. Because that, to me, from your writings has been the most personal one.
Yeah.
What impact do you hope that your articles have and how are you achieving it?
I mean, some of these articles, if it's a news coverage, I'm just covering something that happened on campus because I want to tell people, FYI, this happened, Sometimes if it's more of like a controversial article, it's just because I want to tell people, these are like atrium conversations. I just bought them on a Gazette article.
Ooh,
You know?
atrium conversations.
They happen, يعني. People talk about these things all the time. It's not a surprise when you see them in a Gazette article. It's not like we invented something that wasn't there. We're just trying to document a stance, you know. We're just saying that it exists and we're just documenting it. Because I'm an art history major, so I started thinking...
CULP major, IHIST major,
See?
we're coming together.
Yeah, I know, right? This is why I love this conversation. So the way I think of it is like this: these are primary sources. Some historian in the future would thank us, the Gazette, for documenting these things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of using the word atrium conversations and documenting atrium conversations is so nice because now, like, I have never seen the Gazette this active and this flourishing. Like, for me, there's been 3 articles, all 3 have been published anonymously, that honestly, I'd had heard about them in the atrium. I had heard people talking about, like, I heard them in atrium conversations before they were published. And then when they were published, they obviously created a lot more noise. And the 3 was the first piece released this semester about the comms policy, the one about the sustainability week, and the one about student life. You know, those 3 pieces, I heard a lot of people talking about them in the atrium. And then when I saw them on the Gazette, that to me boosted the Gazette. I was like, finally, someone is talking about this. Someone is putting it in writing.
Yeah.
But with those pieces, again, I feel like the reaction they're evoking is so different from the pieces that you're writing.
I kind of not, like, I don't know what reactions my pieces provoke. I'm not really sure. Like, I get comments like, oh, in class we discussed it, you know, students ask it for in classrooms that we talk about this piece and not about the class. Probably because they didn't do the readings and they just wanted to go away with it. But like, so for me, people talk about these things, yeah, but why we think in the Gazette, or why we believe in the Gazette that we want atrium conversations to be put in articles, because so I might do something that you don't like, but as long as you don't tell me that you don't like this thing, you don't have the right to go behind my back and say, oh, I hate her for doing that, you know? Tell me, let me know, and then if I still do that thing that bothers you, hence you have the right to be like, oh, I hate her for doing that. And this is why I think, or like, this is one of the problems in our campus, and we have strong opinions. We're GQ students, we have strong opinions.
We're the School of Foreign Service.
Yeah, but not all of these strong opinions are being documented in the right way. And in a small campus, we have huge opportunities to connect with administration, with like people in administration, and we have a lot of like accessibility chances to document or like to talk and discuss and our opinions, or like or to address our issues. For me, I'm not a good speaker, as you might know and notice, but I like words and I like just thinking and writing.
Very IHIST major of you.
Right? Yeah. So I just feel like it's easier for me to document my opinions in writing other than go and just scream them out.
Kind of, you started talking about like preferring writing over speaking, and that kind of being one of, I'd say, your struggles. Would you categorize it as that? Maybe?
Maybe, I would say.
Or challenges. Kind of.
It's
so,
okay.
As a general like overview, what challenges do you face when writing for the Gazette? Because like especially because you do write about quote unquote radical things that people are often too scared or too worried or just don't want to talk about, don't want to put in writing. But you have that courage to go and do it. So you kind of already overcome the first, in my opinion, the first set of challenges, which is talking about it. Beyond that, what challenges do you face?
So we always talk about freedom of speech and how we have the freedom to talk about stuff. But there is also the freedom of not listening or not hearing. So we write things, but we don't guarantee that these things are going to provoke change. Like, for me, one of my favorite pieces in the Gazette was the one about sustainability.
Yeah.
I love that piece so much. Why? Because I didn't care about sustainability, or I didn't have this perspective before. But then I read it and I published it and I was so happy about it. But then what?
What happened?
Nothing.
The comms piece, same thing.
The comms piece, the same, yeah. And
But I'd say of the 3 articles that I just mentioned, kind of one of them actually is starting to look up.
student life.
The student life one. Like I noticed already some changes.
I'll tell you why. It's because it already aligned with the new leadership.
With the new leadership.
Yeah, it's not like we asked them or like the piece asked them to do something they were going completely against. They were already in that direction. Just the piece give it more publicity, I would say, but
and
it
made
didn't
us
give it
as students
directions.
notice it more.
And
Yeah.
for students, it got also
100%.
students to be alarmed about it, but it didn't give them directions. This is why when I always talk about Gazette writings, I don't say that we're writing because we want to influence a change, because let's be honest, after all what we've witnessed, change is not driven by words, but words come to stand as a documentation, and words come to stand as we're just documenting our sentiment, and we're documenting what we believe in, and we just want to say that, you know, this is happening and we are aware of it, you know, and we have a say in this. Like the US ambassador's visit, of course, he came, no one prevented him from coming, and he went to the classroom and he was celebrated there. But we just wanted to say that, you know, there were other people who were standing outside in the hallway at 9:30 in the morning because they believed that this is not right. We're just documenting the counter perspective, because the main perspective is always documented, and it's very well documented. But no one documents the counter perspective. We're just documenting it. We're not saying this is right or this is wrong, because we're already over this point. We're just saying that these two perspectives exist, and we're just leveraging the one that doesn't get enough coverage.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
The same was the Palestinian, the Reimagining Palestine Hawara conference. Again, we were not attacking the people who did the conference. We were just saying that, you know, while you did... Don't look at me like that.
No, continue.
Okay. We're not attacking the people who organized the conference. We're saying that we understand their intentions. We're just saying that, you know, this conference was done and it got a lot of good coverage, but we also want to say that there was also a counter perspective in this. Yeah, and it exists, and here it is.
I love that, because I know that piece got a lot of backlash. And it is refreshing to hear that you are taking the burden of the students who want to speak about this but don't necessarily want to do it or can do it, and that you are taking this for all of them and doing it, basically.
And I understand their point, because their point is like, what is going to change? And I know that not very much is going to change, and I believe that too. But, you know, my perspective is just coming from my love for journalism and my love for history, and the fact that we need documentation, basically. Yeah, we need just to tell everyone that, you know, there is a counter argument, and here it is.
I love that. You wrote a piece, going back to Ghassan Kanafani's parallel piece. Other than Ghassan Kanafani, are there writers that you're influenced by, books that maybe you'd want to do another parallel piece with?
I love Radwa Ashur. She's my godmother.
Fair. So fair. I was reading her in 9th grade. I don't know who let me. Barely understood anything, but I love her. I love her.
I think I started reading her in like maybe 7th grade, 9th grade. I love her so much.
She's amazing.
Her family is my dream future family.
Unbelievable.
But I want more kids, honestly. And I don't like Tamim Barghousi that much. Please don't hate me for that.
No, that's where we disagree. I'm sorry. No, that's where we disagree.
I didn't say I hate him. I just said I don't love him that much. And for a guy who was raised by Radwa Ashur, I would expect more from that. Yeah.
No, fair. I remember as one of my like core memories as a child is when Radwa Ashur passed away. Her husband and her son had like a memorial poetry night in Amman in Jordan, and I was 9 and I was there.
Lucky, I watched it on YouTube.
I was literally 9, sitting on my mother's lap the whole night, watching.
You know what?
Poetry.
He read I think it was Tamim or Murid. I think it was Tamim who read one of her articles, لكل المقهورين أجنحة, at the beginning of this night. It's my favorite. It is my favorite. And I like how she is influenced by African American resistance. I just feel like, we're all in solidarity with each other.
Yeah.
So,
ooh, Jannah, I love the way your brain works.
oh, thank you.
I need to see more write-ups for me and for the student body.
Maybe I'll write something about Radwa Ashur in Arabic.
Please do. Please do. That would be amazing.
Okay. She got me a research scholarship last summer. I don't think, it's not only her, but, I wrote about
From beyond the grave.
Yeah, it was her reference. No, it's because I wrote about her, and for the Laidlaw scholarship, I wrote in my leadership essay, I wrote about how I think she's a great leader because she was an academic scholar. I was writing about how good leaders are those who are well educated, and I was talking about how when she had brain cancer and she went with her fellow colleagues to face the dean of Ain Shams University, and it was right before the Arab Spring in Egypt, and I was she had brain cancer. Why would she even care about the future of the country? And just her strong heart was really influenced by her literary work and by her academic work, and how she is very interested and invested in the what is it called, the African American resistance and all of this. And she was saying something about the Arab Spring, and she was those kids that I once saw, because I read her what was it called, her autobiography.
Yeah, her autobiography is
so
beautiful,
great, right?
So amazing.
And I remember the parallels she drew between the kids, the primary school kids, or in 5th grade and 6th grade, and they had this protest after their school ended, because in solidarity with the second intifada, and she was these kids have grown up now and they are in the Tahrir Square demanding their own freedom. And this is why I'm very attached to Palestine, because in Egypt, basically, you can't separate these two countries. Even the first thing the protesters did when in Tahrir Square, one of them went to the Israeli embassy and he took the flag out and he climbed the walls. He didn't even go.
Love that.
And it was live, and Al Jazeera was covering it, and it was one of the things that went viral, because the moment Egyptians get their freedom, the first thing they think of is Palestine. So I think this is also one of the main reasons why you would see my writings mostly, if you don't know that I am Egyptian, you might assume that I'm Palestinian.
I'd see why, because you do write a lot about Palestine.
Yeah. Every time I try to write about Egypt, I don't know why, it just doesn't go through.
No, it's, a lot of people know this, but I am Palestinian, but I've never been to Palestine, and I was born in the States, and then I was raised in Jordan. I've lived there my whole life until I came here for uni. But
a lot of mansif.
Wallah, me too. Wallahi, me too. But, even if I can't write about Jordan the way I write about Palestine. I don't have it in me, and I've tried. And I love Jordan. Love Jordan. It is my home. It's where I call home. It's where I go back every time. And I miss it a lot, but I can't write about it the way I write about Palestine. So I get that so much.
Yeah. It's the Palestinian charm, I would say.
100%. 100%. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Okay. To whoever is listening to this, please write for the Gazette. We care about your opinions. And
100%. The best editorial board ever.
Yeah, and we just want to see more diversity in our opinions. We have plus 60 nationalities. We are pretty sure that you guys have a lot to say and a lot to share about our campus and how to make it better. And even if you don't know how to make it better, just pointing out at stuff that you think is worth mentioning is very valuable to us. And this is what makes us better. This is what makes the Gazette closer to the audience when we start talking about things that matter to our audience, things that personally touch on what they want. And for next semester, we're planning to be more active, to host workshops, and to have stuff on the ground where people can see and interact with. And we want to cover more events that are happening. We want to be closer to our campus. So we care about like opinion pieces that come talking about, you know, the US elections or whatever happening in the other side of the, we care about that. It's important and we like it. But we also want more stuff that is closer to our own environment. You know, we are in a US institution and we are supported by freedom of speech rights. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that 100% wherever your demands are going to be met. But the fact that you're able to express your opinions is very valuable, especially if you're coming from countries that are notorious with their, you know, policies, aka Egypt. So I know if I was studying in an Egyptian university, I wouldn't have a chance to talk about, you know, stuff the same way I talk about them here. And this is something we should be all grateful for. So just right, you know.
I love that. And yes, I would, as a writer at the Gazette, I want to piggyback on that because honestly, writing for the Gazette, one of my favorite things ever. Again, I've only written 2 pieces, but they've been so much fun to write. I'm so supported by the TGG editorial board. It is crazy. Like
I didn't pay her to say that. No one paid her to say that.
No ransom, no paying was needed. But honestly, the whatever small idea that you have, sit with Jannah, sit with Alex. They're more than happy to kind of talk it out with you, go back and forth, help you with writing it as much as possible. Even if you want to become an editor, there's so much support there. It's so nice. You can even take photos and videos for the Gazette or be a designer. Yeah. I highly, highly recommend it. I think for me, it's one of the highlights of my sophomore year, and I genuinely enjoy it so much.
You can also interview people if you think you have people that you want to interview, and we can support you in this. You know? If they are at GQ, you can be like, oh, I'm coming from the Gazette, so we would give you, you know, the credibility to interview them. And if you want to interview people from the outside and write about them, you're more than welcome to do that. It's really interesting having human voices and human stories in our Gazette because, you know, we are students and we have a very different perspective. Even if we're like, if 2 people, like a media agency, let's call it wherever, 3 letters, and then us as student, and like you're both interviewing the same group of people, 100% what you're gonna come with would be completely different from what the 3 letters agency would come with. And not to say that yours is better or theirs is better, wherever, like we're not doing that comparison, but you will have a very interesting perspective, you know, and you would be more, you know, human telling that story because, you know, you're not paid to do it and you don't have your own, you know, prejudice. So yeah, everything is welcomed, and, you know, we're not doing that. Even if you're criticizing something on campus, you're not doing that for the sake of criticizing. You're doing that because you want, you know, inspire a change. Maybe you want to raise awareness about something. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you're just trying to attack for nothing or just for the sake of attacking or like, just, you know, just being different, you know, like, no.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. Okay, thank you so much, Jannah, for this very, very lovely interview. I personally am very much looking forward to all of your upcoming write-ups. I cannot wait to read them.
I'm looking for your write-ups too.
Oh, thank you.
And for your write-ups too. Yes, the people who are listening.
The listeners, 100%. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.
The end.
The end.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of GU-Q Speaks. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspirations from our conversation today. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to follow us on our Instagram page at GQ_speaks, and be sure to leave a review on Spotify to show your support.